Hello there, I'm Hannah Wise. This is CNN Money Switzerland. Welcome along. Now, do our major events have a sporting chance? That's our one thing today as we dive into the world of sports and the impact of coronavirus. Let me walk you through what we're dealing with here. And we'll start here in Switzerland because it's going to play host to the World Ice Hockey Championships this year. There's still 64 days to go, but the games will be held in Zurich and Lausanne, the latter seeing Switzerland's first death from the virus this Thursday. Now, UEFA is in the thick of it all already, with Champions League games being played behind closed doors as early as next week. Euro 2020 will be played in 12 different European cities with, for the first time, 24 different countries involved in the tournament. Again, this is a little way off yet, with 99 days to go until kickoff. But there's been a lot of speculation on this last item for you, the Tokyo Olympic Games. 140 days to go, 339 events in 33 sports with athletes from 206 nations. Here's CNN's Blake Essick from Tokyo.
Since 2011, when Japan won the bid to host the 2020 Summer Olympics, they've spent tens of billions of dollars building out the infrastructure, including Japan's new national stadium, where the opening ceremonies for the Olympics are supposed to be held in less than 5 months. You can actually still hear the construction going on just outside the stadium as they continue to build out and prepare for these games. And come over here with me. This is out in front of Japan's Olympic Museum. You can see people taking pictures with the Olympic rings. There are replicas of successful Olympic Games that were held here in Japan, Nagano, Sapporo, and Tokyo. It was here that we actually caught up with Olympic officials from Sweden. They were here to inspect the progress being made here in Japan in the build-up to the Olympic Games.
I haven't heard any concerns at all about the sport part. And now we look in the Olympic Village and that will be fine as well. So we are very comfortable and looking forward to the games. Hope it will be in July.
But the preparations are being called into question, and it's not because of the infrastructure, that's on time, it's because of the coronavirus. And if you take a look right here, this is what speaks volumes. It speaks to the dilemma that Japan is facing. In Japanese, it explains that the reason that this museum is closed is because of the coronavirus. In English, it just says that the museum is closed. And now this is what it's all about. It's up to Japan now to not only reassure the world that they're ready to host these Olympic Games in less than 5 months, but also deal with the coronavirus at the very same time.
Well, let's get more from Matt Layton, our sports correspondent, who's standing by in our Lake of Geneva studio. Matt, you've been following this very, very closely. In fact, you were at the IOC event yesterday. What was the mood like?
It was really strange. It was yesterday evening, so after 2 days of intense discussions with the executive board, President Bach came down and talked to us all. And the challenges there were that you have 100 journalists all wanting to search for an angle, but we have the unknown. Logically, everyone was saying, well, this should go away. It's only a flu. But there's a secret little ingredient that we don't know. So I know that we asked Mr. Bach loads of questions. In fact, the first 11 questions were all about the coronavirus. And he was insisting, well, let's listen to him now, that not much was said about it.
I can tell you that today in the meeting of the executive board, neither the word cancellation nor the word postponement was even mentioned. Of course, we are a responsible organization. This is why we have this joint task force, which is having regular meetings. And there we are addressing there any issues which may arise, but we are not speculating on any kind of future developments.
So I guess the mood was trying to stay positive, but the stakes are high, Matt.
Well, the stakes are incredibly high. Let's say $2 or $3 billion is quite high, isn't it? And it's a case of everyone in that room yesterday, all the journalists desperately want the Olympic Games to go forward, but there is the unknown. And I asked Director Bach, I said, you know, what is this one of the most stressful situations you've ever had? And he was like, no, 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 no. We had nuclear problems a couple of years ago. We had SARS in Rio. We had all sorts of situations. This is almost like par for the course. Let everyone do their job. We hope that everything is going to be going forward. The only challenge that they admitted to, which is quite real, is the qualifications. And for the 33 sports, they all have to have athletes qualifying for them. And we're having a bit of a challenge there because there's certain countries it can be held, certain countries it can't be held. But Thomas Bach wrote a letter to the athletes this morning. There's a platform that everyone uses called Athlete 365. And he was saying, as an ex-athlete, I understand your problems. Keep training hard. I know some flights have been cancelled. There's some travel restrictions. Keep going and we'll sort everything out. And hopefully everything will be fine.
In the meantime, there are several big sporting events that are happening who are kind of really dealing with this right now. Let's start with the UEFA Champions League. I mean, this couldn't really have come at a worse time for them.
No way. 12 different venues throughout Europe, and it's in 99 days' time, so in 3 months' time. They're not actually having much information at all. To be fair, there's the 44th annual Congress in Amsterdam earlier this week, and the directors did say a couple of statements. They said, well, we are looking at it. We're going to make sure that everything is hopefully okay, but it's a bit out of our hands, so we don't want to talk about it too much. But remember, with the UEFA, they actually are the umbrella organisations for the Champions League, and so we have situations there. We have these last 16, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, the finals. So there's so much more on their plate in the next few days that it's a case of just watch this space. But do they have a plan B? Again, we're not quite sure about that. So again, it's an unanswerable question.
All right, what about decision time then for the Ice Hockey World Championships, which is being held here in Switzerland?
I have some good sources who are inside the clubs, and they're very concerned about it. The Swiss government are going to have the next meeting, we believe, on the 15th of the month of March. They're telling me that if there's a further extension to no manifestations of more than 1,000 people, there's a big likelihood it's going to be put off. It can be maybe postponed, they're telling me, to next year. But yes, that's going to be possibly the first casualty of the year. And remember, in Switzerland, we do have the playoffs now. So there's going to be 8 teams having to put in up to 21 matches each before the beginning of May. So it's a very difficult situation, but everyone's reiterating the same thing. Let's not stress too much because it's out of our hands.
All right, we'll leave it there. Matt Leighton, thank you very much indeed. Now, Switzerland has now its first death from the coronavirus. Neighbouring country Italy has also now confirmed school closures. So will Switzerland take further containment measures? And are you ready for them? Ana Maria Montero has been looking at government advice on how to deal with a developing situation.
Do you know what this is? This is a week's worth of supplies that the Swiss government recommend that the average household have on hand per person in case of a crisis. Now, obviously, you don't have to consume all of it in one go, but these are the supplies that are on the list of the so-called emergency ration pack. But let's back that up a minute. Make no mistake, the Swiss government is on the offensive when it comes to containing COVID-19. Banning gatherings of more than 1,000 people, asking people not to shake hands, kiss, brochures, hotlines, flight restrictions. But this list of supplies, this recommendation has been around for more than 50 years. As a small country without access to the sea and dependent on imports, the Swiss have historically taken their stockpiles very seriously, an attitude of be prepared that they pass on to their citizens. So what's on it? Well, lucky for you, they provide an actual list with checkboxes in 3 languages to make sure you have everything you need for 7 days. It starts with 9 liters of drinking and cooking water, but this doesn't include water for personal hygiene that could be important during an outbreak, so I'm going to throw in a couple more. Coffee, tea, chocolate powder, and UHT milk are also recommended. In terms of food, they also recommend you stick to basics, so stockpiling rice, your pasta, ready-to-eat foods, and enough oil, salt, and pepper for cooking. Not surprisingly, some non-perishables also make the cut, so you got your dried fruit, your dry meats, your canned foods, and some Swiss staples, your knäckebrot, your muesli, your würsti, and your zwieback. Now the list also makes room for your sweet tooth, so your sugar, your honey, and your confiture, and your stock of chocolate also makes the cut. Now I'm a dark chocolate kind of girl, so I'm gonna throw that in. But cheese is also on the list. They don't tell you how to store it. You can have it And if you have pets, they also recommend that you not forget them. Now, the government also recommends items like flashlights with backup batteries, candles with matches and/or lighter, a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, toilet paper, a first aid kit with your usual medications, painkillers, rubber gloves, soap, and a camping stove, gas or gel-powered, so your average fondue pot could also do the trick. It's also worth mentioning that face masks are also on the list, something that can become increasingly useful in the current situation. And listen, according to the Swiss government, it's important not to fall into panic buying and to just shop sensibly. This is in spite of the fact that you might be seeing some items running scarce on the Swiss supermarket shelves. Speaking of which, now I spent roughly 100 francs on my shopping list of supplies, but that of course depends on how much you consume, and it varies from person to person. But what about you? Are you prepared? Leave a comment below.
And you can get in touch with us in all the usual ways. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And as ever, you can catch us on our website, cnnmoney.ch. Bye-bye.